Stroh. Okay, and a posting of meeting given to the public pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.8. So. We've got a motion and by Shimmick and a second by Jury. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Unless there's any objections, we're going to go ahead and move the senior trip request up right now. Meg?
Hi, I'm Meg Terra, I'm the senior class president. For a trip, we want to go to the Dells. So the first thing we wanted to do was split the class. We already took like a vote of who would like to go where. We have 15 people that want to go to an escape room and 14 that want to go paintballing. So we decided to do both. We split the morning and then we talked to our advisors, who was Mr. Straka and Mr. Ryder, and they agreed to split up and supervise separately. And then we meet for lunch. We decided on going to Noodles and Company, and then after lunch, we decided to go to the outlet mall, which is right next to Knuckleheads. So whoever would want to go to the mall would go shop, and then whoever wants to go to Knuckleheads could go there, and the advisors agreed to split again. So that is what we're proposing for our trip.
That's fun. Okay.
So the district just provides transportation.
Yep.
Everything else is in class.
Any other questions about that?
Motion to approve.
I'll second. Okay, we've got a motion by Dury and a second by Shimmick. All those in favor, please say aye.
Sorry.
Opposed? Motion passes. Have fun.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll move on to the approval of the minutes. April 13 regular meeting and May 4th special meeting. The special meeting on your agenda does say closed session, but I already know that it's not the case. Okay, we have got a motion by Todd and a second by Dury to approve both the regular and special meeting minutes. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. And we have to approval of current expenses and vouchers payable. Right?
So usually I hit the bigger ticket items of things that aren't in every month. So on page 3, after the payroll accrual is website provider renewal. That's through Apogee, so that's $4,900 to review our website. provider. And that phone app that we have that is part of that. After that, on the same page, $24.95 for garbage disposal replacement. There was farther down, $1,182 for fire equipment from both budgets, elementary and middle high school. And a lot of this stuff will be used next year. Sometimes they wait and finish out things that need to be replaced. If anything got broken or worn out, or they need to replace something special, but that's still within their budget. Toward the bottom of this page, Neola, it's about it's just about the Piggly Wiggly things, $1,295, and that's what we pay for the policy service update. We do that twice a year. That's really money well spent on that. On the last page, Pilling Electrical Services, most of that was in the greenhouse. I think there was one switch in the gym that they had to replace, lights, exit signs. I think that was most of it. Farther down, it's called Skyward. It's about a third of the way down. That's our financial software annual renewal, $8,279. Toward the bottom of the page, with our property insurance, we got billed for the final 3 months of the year, $4,058, and that was without an increase for those 3 months. And then we're going to have our property insurance be billed annually, starting with the July 1st to June 30th, so it matched our fiscal year. It didn't match our fiscal year in the past for this part, so the property, we'll get another bill for July for property insurance, and then it also will include our liability insurance, which is a little larger number. But they'll both be due, and they won't run into 2 fiscal years on that billing. Another software renewal, Frontline Technologies, that's for human resources. It tracks our absences and our leave days, and it also automatically calls for subs. When subs are available, they can fill themselves in and stuff can be taken care of automatically. And then the last thing is WeCan. That's an annual membership, and we post for positions. That's an online thing that's, I guess it's national, but it puts the vacancies in our district. So there's a couple of main sites that people look at. It would be WeCan is one of the main ones, and then if we post for a superintendent, it would be on the Superintendent's Association site. If we post for principal, it's on that association site. Way back in the day, each college had their own things. It was all under paper. So this is a pretty good thing. You can put any position on there, and it gets out there. People get that pretty regularly. So the things we will have, obviously we'll have a June meeting, and then we'll have a meeting late June to finish out, close out the year with anything that is still outstanding, including some of the summer school payroll that goes through June. Any questions?
I'll make an approval, or I'll approve the expenditures and vouchers payable.
I have a motion and by Katrina Shevik and a second by Ashley Baker to approve current expenses and vouchers payable. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Next on the agenda is public appearances before the board, not for action. So thanks everybody for coming, and just want to give a quick reminder that if you'd like to speak, again, you can speak on things for us to hear. They're not for action. We can't discuss or vote on anything, but we're happy to listen. I just ask you to state your name at a time and okay.
I'll go first. I wanted to make my own statement and then I have a letter from a past student. Can I do both? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
And your name?
I'm Janine Schmitz. And I have a letter from a past student. She asked me to read it tonight. It says, "Hi, I'm Haley Kleist, and I graduated from Highland High School in 2020. Crazy year, I know. Lately, I've been reading about bullying and racism going on at the school. I know that a lot of negative things have been said about the school, so I thought I should write this to bring some positive back into the light. Before coming to Highland, I attended a different school district. During the summer before freshman year started, I had to decide whether or not I wanted to change schools or stay with where I was. I decided to change schools, and to be honest, it saved me. Growing up, I had always had an anxiety issue. I had social anxiety, and I had really bad anxiety when it came to public speaking. While in my other school, I got very nervous about a presentation I had to give, and I told my teacher that I couldn't do it. When I told her I wouldn't go back into the room, she threatened to send me to the office and give me a demerit. Very bad thing. In that situation, the thing that stood out most to me was the lack of understanding, and the teacher didn't think about addressing the situation differently. Then I started at Highland, and my first presentation came around. I was very anxious that the same situation would happen again. So the night before we were supposed to start presenting, I didn't sleep that night, and I almost had a panic attack. My mom wrote a note to the teacher explaining what was going on. I was expecting the teacher to yell at me and tell me that I had to do the presentation anyway, but I was so wrong. The teachers at Highland actually helped me through presentations by giving me smaller groups to present in front of and working it up from there. I had also mentioned that I have a social anxiety disorder. I was so nervous for the first day of school. I had played softball at Highland the summer before starting at the school, but felt that I didn't have any friends yet. But when I got there, everyone made me feel like I had been there for years. I can't even explain how good the community is at the school. Everyone made me feel included when I started, and they made me feel like I belonged there, which I had never experienced before. I also feel like the whole district went above and beyond for their students. One time, my mom couldn't take me to school in the morning, and I had no other ride to school. My mom ended up calling the school, explaining the situation, and Mr. Terrell and the guidance counselor took one of the vans and picked me up from Muscadet. I will never forget that day. They didn't know it, but it meant so much to me that they picked me up in a time of need. Sports-wise, there were some instances where I felt duped, but I was always treated with respect. In softball, I remember all of the teammates coming together before games and all the cheering after them. Even the girls who played on JV always shared the same excitement as the varsity team did, because we were taught to be one, a family as one might call it. High school is supposed to be a fun time where kids start finding themselves and they start making memories. This is also a time where kids start to become adults and make decisions for themselves. Take it from a recent high school kid who didn't graduate long ago. Let your kids enjoy high school because it goes by so fast.
Thank you. Thank you, Haley.
So since the last meeting, I've been just very saddened by what happened. There have been some pretty nasty and disrespectful comments made over the last month, and I think social media should be banned. I'm so glad I don't have a social media account, and I would encourage the same for others. I've been told a million times over, Josh Terrell is a good man who loves the students at Highland and puts his heart and soul into his job. Now that I'm a recent parent in the district, I also see it with my own eyes and have experienced his willingness to go above and beyond his call of duty. I'm not sure if any of the speakers from the last meeting believe that he himself is racist. I certainly hope not. I would be incredibly, it would be incredibly offensive to me if anyone believed that. Every student in the school is, in a way, his kid. He loves all the students here. Being that he is the face of the school, I found the last meeting and the following newspaper article extremely hurtful, given the time, dedication, and heart that he has put into this position for the last 12 years. Back in November, we decided to enroll our daughter into this school. She came from a school of 2,500 students. She was a number. She was a number, and that's it. At that school, the principal did not sit outside with her waiting for her late parents to come pick her up after a school event. At that school, the principal did not call parents to have their child come to school early and work on task corrections. At that school, the principal did not dance in the middle of the school dance floor, rallying students in fun. At that school, the principal didn't stand at the front entrance, greeting every student that came through the door with a smile every school day. At that school, the principal did not know every student's name and did not make an effort to do so. The principal didn't talk to all the students at lunch or go to every after-school event possible. The principal didn't call and check on families when they were sick or deliver homework to families. Students weren't able to play on a school sports team unless they were a club athlete and survived the tryouts. Adversity is good, don't get me wrong, but know that students here are lucky to be a valued member of the school community. Now, are there improvements that need to be made? Of course, improvements can always be made. And please know, I'm not discrediting the thoughts, feelings, or emotions expressed at the last meeting, and I'm glad those students were able to express themselves, and it's great that they can do that. However, we cannot lose sight of the fact that people are human, and we have to ask ourselves a very important question about grievances that happen. Does the situation involve good intentions, or does the situation involve maliciousness? This is a question that gets forgotten in society nowadays, especially when we have so much negativity surrounding us, and negative things get blown out of proportion. Not all students in this school get along, and let's face it, kids can be very cruel. However, improvements to the school culture cannot be discussed without considering parents. Change relies heavily on the parents in this community. Parents, it's time to get off of social media if you can't be a positive force. Start being objective and put yourself in another person's shoes before making irrational, hurtful comments. When you're around your kids, be mature and refrain from hurtful gossip. The divisiveness in this town is disturbing, and it's rubbing off on the kids. And I can feel it. There's another thing we need to consider when it comes to discipline, problem solving, and social change. We appear to be understaffed when it comes to administration. Other districts have full-time district administrators, deans of students, at-risk coordinators, curriculum coordinators, multiple guidance counselors, and I know this is a small school. But in relation to the other schools in the area, we have one full-time person. Students and families have increasing needs, and I think we need to be understanding of the various expectations placed on teachers and administrators these days. This is evidenced by the teacher and administration shortage. We need to remember that people choose to educate our future citizens, and they pursue these roles to make a difference. We need to respect and value their hard work. We should also add that our school board members deserve our gratitude for the time and effort that they put into supporting this school. I'm not here to make enemies or to make anyone angry. I'm here to stand up for the integrity of the school that has been labeled as a place of bullying and racism. I have a really hard time saying that because I'm a Highland alumni, and there are too many good things going on here to allow that to happen without speaking out. I also know that the administration of the school loves our students, no matter their race, religion, gender, sexual orientation, bad or good choices, character, or abilities of every single one of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Jim Kisher. I've been working with Josh. I know Bryce for a long time. This stuff going on here has really been tough to take. I've watched him go through a lot of stuff over the years, okay? I've been coaching with him a long time. I've been around the school ever since I was around him more after I was in school, but I was, and the part that bothers me the most, I guess, is social media for one thing, and sadly, I have an account which I probably shouldn't sometimes. But over the years that I've been here and I've been involved with, I was here when Bryce was actually a teacher here back in the day. But I've known Josh my whole life. And if there's one thing that hurts me is when the things that are being said about that are malicious. Because I've watched him leave practice to give students a ride home because their father was at school and was inebriated. I've watched him do many selfless things like that over the years, and I don't know how long we've been coaching together, Josh, but it's been a while. And I have never, ever seen a racist word come out of his mouth to me in private or on the court or in a practice, period. Never seen that in all the years I've been with him. All the bullying stuff, I'm not here at school, so I can't really speak to that. But I can't believe that it would be allowed. And I know that if Josh knew about that type of stuff, that it would be handled in whatever capacity he could take care of him. Does he make mistakes? Yeah, we all do. To what extent though, I know for a fact that there's no way that there was ever a decision he would make to hurt this school district or the kids that are in it. There's no way. I've been around him a long, long time, like I said, and if there's, a guy with any type of character, I would put my life in his hands at any time, so. I guess that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, moving on to announcements and reports. Principal report is first.
Apologize if I have to step out. We have a junior meeting going on right now as well. Junior parent meeting to talk about stuff for next year to prepare juniors, and they might need me to come down and speak to so if I have to step out, I apologize, that's why. So obviously, as you know, year end, next week is our seniors' last hoorah. So obviously I have a lot of stuff to get done next week. We'll have our Pride Day next Thursday. And what we do there, for those that may not know, is we start the day off with their yearbook dedication. Seniors will do a little, we call it the senior parade. So they'll have their gowns on, they'll go around the school this next week and give the high fives to the kids, one last hoorah. They'll take a picture with the 5Kers, and they'll take their senior picture with their gowns on, so we don't have to worry about that on Saturday next week. And then we hand out the awards, so we have forensics awards, just all different, any teacher that wants to give an award out for their class or for a club, we'll get those awards out to the kids. Then we'll have some lunch down at the park and let them play some volleyball in the afternoon. Yearbook dedication, all that type of stuff, just to close out the year for the kids. Any questions on that? I'd just like to recognize, obviously before our next board meeting, kids will be gone, so I just want to recognize all the staff, both professional and support staff, and I want to commend them for the year that we've had this year. They have just all have worked their tails off. And it's been a tough year with coming back from COVID, like we said. It's been a tough one, and the staff has just hung right in there, filling in wherever I needed it. So I just want to publicly say how proud I am to be able to work with a great staff. Today we had a meeting with Miss Rodriguez. I would tell you her first name, but I will, as Yari, it's short, Yari Rodriguez. That's not exactly how you pronounce it, but anyway, she's a member of OSA, and she is going to come and meet with us starting next fall and talk about diversity, talk about, she's gonna train our staff. We have different meetings set up where we're gonna stagger them out through the year. So we'll start with training our staff, then go to the kids. So we met with her probably close to an hour today, and it was phenomenal. So the stuff that she shared with us, and she gave us, as you know, I've been sharing with our diversity training and what we want to do moving forward from our last meeting. And I too would like to recognize and thank the two girls that spoke last meeting. And we talked about how we need to see, or I need to see things through their eyes. And I think I know we're moving in the right direction. I've talked to many families that have students of a protected race that has children in our district, and they have all been outstanding to me. So said they're more than willing to help. So I think we're taking the right steps moving forward. And honestly, if it wasn't for those two girls that spoke last meeting, I don't think we'd be as far as we are now and where we need to go. So again, I want to commend them for taking the time to do so. And again, Ms. Rodriguez gave us some, I'm looking at a survey that we can send to both our families and even the entire community if you guys want it to be, but I want to run that through her. She gave me some ideas. I want to run that to those families that I talked about. So we're on the right track. So I just wanted to let you know where we're at with that so far. But any questions on that right now? All right, some sports we're talking about in the spring. Obviously we have baseball and softball going on. Baseball is just a little over 500, hanging right in there. The softball team's doing well. I think they have, I'm not sure, 13 wins, maybe 2 losses. Seed meetings tonight. If things go well, they should get a 1 seed. They're sitting good. I don't want to jinx them and say we should be conference champs, but they got a really good shot at it. So that's going well. That's coming up for tournament time for both teams. So we're excited for that. Lastly, if you guys could help me out, the annual board members at the graduation. So if anyone would like to participate in graduations, I'll ask Barbie here to write down the names.
I'm available that day, and then typically in the past several years, we or not allowed, but if a parent of a student graduating wants to, Katrina or you.
I guess I'll do it.
So Katrina and Andrea for high school. All right, 8th grade graduation is on the 24th, Tuesday night. Right now, I don't know if it's gonna be 7 or 7:30. If the girls are still playing ball, which I hope they will be, I think it'll be a sectional semifinal, and that would be here. So I may move it, it's gonna be 7 or 7:30, but we won't move the date, but we might move back a half an hour if we need to. So if I get a couple for that, that'd be great.
I can try to be.
What did you say that was, John?
The 24th.
24th, Tuesday night. It's usually like to get in and out in half an hour.
I can do it. I'll do it.
We have Beth and Ashley.
Just let me know.
Otherwise Wilson, he can. do
Yeah,
it.
if you can, actually, I'll.
Okay.
I can back it.
Anything else, Josh? Is that it?
Oh, sorry. Yep, that's it for me.
Right?
Most of my stuff from my report has to do with setting up future meetings, and I think we finalize them later, but kind of has to kind of work backwards, so, June 8th would be the next regular board meeting. I'd like to have a building and grounds on Wednesday, June 1st. And we have, according to the timeline I presented last special meeting, there really isn't a lot of time, about a year and a half maybe, to identify the needs of our next referendum and what needs would be facility needs. There's a couple of people that I've worked with in the past at different districts that help us through that process. And they would identify some facilities needs. They would work with people if we identified people that we wanted to work with, certain architects or general contractors. They've got people that they've worked with, but I just like to have a chance for them to meet with the Building and Grounds Committee. And then if the committee wanted them to present at the board meeting, and then the board could decide if they wanted to continue to work with them, it would be, it's hard for me to explain. They have a presentation, they can answer questions directly, but that's gonna come up pretty fast, and there's some things that we've been kicking around, but we could use some help in mapping a direction, so I'm gonna ask, for a June 1st building grounds meeting. We also need to finalize the activities code or athletic code and finalize it so we have a first draft. So our plan was to have a first draft to take to the board on June 8th, and then there would be, in July, there'd be a final, a second reading of it, and that the new superintendent, Randy Refsland would be there, and we'll give him a copy of the first reading. He came Monday and visited and talked to different people in the district, so he's got to go back to Egypt and finish up 5 weeks. Next week he'll go back, and he'll be busy till about the last week in June. I don't know if he'll be really in June at all, or maybe possibly the last meeting. And we'll probably set that last meeting on June 8th. There's a final meeting just to close out the year. It's usually pretty short, about a 15-minute meeting. And a lot of times it's the last Wednesday in June. So I was looking at May 25th on a Wednesday night for that. It'd be the night after 8th grade graduation, but it would be for a policy meeting to finish up the final draft. And what we're planning on doing is putting together a draft. When I say we, that means Barb, usually, or Linda, but this would be Barb, to have things, existing code, and then usually if you could strike through or omit things, and we have things that we've already talked about, we'd like to see, and then we can kind of construct it on the computer. And then when the full board gets it, usually it shows red language our additions are in red. A line is crossed out where we're taking language out. And we just want to get going on that. And actually, it's interesting because we talked today with the person that Josh was talking about, different ways of putting policies together. And you put things in there, you try to have as much structure, you have to try to have a lot of structure, and there's some things that are easier to structure, so there's no decision that this happens and this happens, and sometimes we needed that this year and we need it in some more areas. And there's always going to be some discretion that has to be in there, and we'll talk about that. So anyway, that's our plan with that. But one of the other things existing board members know about, but the new board members would be new to them. So the teaching staff has professional development. They have professional development plans that they put together, and they will present, get the board to approve their plan, and then they work on different things that they're going to do to add value to the school year. And like, for example, one of the teachers, one of her plans was to put together a mentor handbook. And so her project throughout the year was to try to put something together that's going to help teachers new to the district and kind of pull everything together so they can find it in there. So we have the need for about maybe 8 or 9 teachers to do a PDP verification meeting that they present it to a committee of another teacher, the principal, superintendent, and a board member committee. So different people have done it. So I wanted to do those from May 31st to June 3rd. But one question was, I don't know if anybody can meet during the day, and if we can't, we have to meet, after school. But if there's somebody that can come in and meet for a couple hours mid-morning or in the afternoon, and just get more in. So I don't know if anybody can on that. Everybody works, so you can? Okay.
I could.
Okay.
I also could, just for a couple of hours.
Yeah, so the ones that have been on it before, I mean, it takes about sometimes 20 minutes, half hour for a teacher, and depending how many questions back and forth. So maybe I'll put together a schedule and get it out to you guys and see if you can kind of sign up for some slots. See if that works.
Sounds great, yeah.
And Katrina, you could do it after work.
Yeah, I can't do during the day.
All right, super. Well, that's.
Regarding the policy date.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'm available the 25th. Is there any way the 23rd would work? Or
Yeah,
do you want to talk about that at the end?
no, we could, that possibly could work. Me,
That would be better.
In the evening?
Yeah. 5:30. Oh, wait, who else?
Yeah. If it's easier for everybody, 6 would be fine, but if we prefer 5:30 or.
No, it's what works best for you. You're always sitting
You
here
have to
for a while
run.
when we do say.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
5:30 or you just, okay.
Okay, 5:30.
So
yeah.
5:30 on.
Well,
that
I
Monday?
don't work.
Oh, this one.
yeah, that works.
Thank you.
Okay, so otherwise I'll talk a lot last meetings. Go ahead. That's most of my other stuff. Good, correct.
That's it?
Yeah.
For you? Okay. All right, moving on to policy development and review, first reading of the Neola updates. Do you have some of those handy or did you want to?
I just have that document.
Do you?
It's been a long time ago.
It does seem like a long time ago. I know I have notes. Okay,
I mean, a bunch of things are law changes. There's a few things called technical corrections that they're just kind of editing or using a few different words that are that they're choosing now, but there's a lot of this is brought on by law changes or changes in either state or federal law, and then we have to have a policy. Once in a while, we add a new policy, right? So we'll say revise if it's existing policy that we have just changed some minor things in. And then for the newer people, again, we have a consultant that comes out. We have a real good one, Steve, and he's been a long-term district administrator, so now he just specializes in this through a company that works with Wisconsin attorneys, but they have draft policies that all the schools in Wisconsin can use, and we can, usually you have a menu, you have some options, you can choose this option or choose that option or leave some things out. You also have the option of totally using the, whatever policy you want or word it your own wording. So it's really been a tremendous asset to have that, because it used to be you had to go to other districts, see what they had, ask school board association for a draft of what they had. The administrator was trying to put all that together, or the board was trying to wordsmith what it is. So our guy gives us guidance, a little bit information behind that, but we have 3 board members on the policy, and usually Josh, myself, Linda, and Barb, and we all ask questions if it pertains to something that we are, we're curious about. So the board committee goes through it, and administration and support go through it. And we come up with the changes, so. There actually wasn't as many this time as some other time.
I'll make a motion to approve the Neola updates.
I'd also say that basically found on our website, you have to go under under district, under Board of Education, under policies, and you can click on, and the good thing is you can type in a word that you can search for information. So like if it was student fees, you could type that in, it would show policies that talk about student fees. So it's very, and then it's constantly updated twice a year.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I will.
Okay, we've got a motion by Schmidt and a second by Yeager to approve this first reading of the Neola updates. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion passes. We'll move on to new business. 2022-23 open enrollment applications, right?
We have 19 students open enrolling in and 6 open enrolling out. So recommendation would be approve those. We did put a limit on special education students, 5th grade on down in the elementary. And none of the elementary open enrollments in our special needs in the elementary. I think there's only one in the whole group, and they're in the 6 through 12.
And remind me, you do that yearly, right? So that's
Yeah,
just
in January,
right now,
we
you
decide.
did it for next year. Okay.
So I recommend that we approve the open enrollments as requested in and out.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mitchick and a second by Glanville to approve the open enrollment applications. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes on to CISA 3 22-23 contract.
Can you click on that, you can see how it's set up. This is showing on the left-hand side what we have currently this year in that first column. It shows the whole price list and other things that we could get from CISA. So we pick off that menu of things that we think we want to use, and then what would be in our contract for next year. And if you look at the very bottom, it's showing the same cost. One thing, some schools have therapies. Our therapies are through hospital Dodgeville. One thing I want to add that's not on ours. So DPI was funding some services to the CISAs, paying CISAs to provide some more support for Title I. Some informational things and keeping us current with changes Title I and reading type programs. And so there was a grant that DPI was getting that. My understanding is that, it dried up, or they're not getting it, so they're not going to pay the CISA. So the CISA had to pass that cost down to the district. And so I want to add 1,500. That would be halfway down. It says Title I Network, and it says new in red. for 1,500, so that would be 1,500 more than we paid last year. And these are things that we can add some things in from year to year, and they're pretty helpful. They need to know, because they need to know what kind of staff they're gonna need to hire or retain, and so they depend on what we're going to do. So it would be I'm asking to approve 33,661 with an addition of 1,500 added to that. They'll make a new contract and have to sign off on that.
How often do you guys look at the ones that we are not taking into account to see if they might be beneficial? I'm just one that pops out to me is the teen relationship and just trying to sort of scroll through it quick. Is it with everything that?
Well, we look at it a few times during the year. We can also add in a lot of the stuff, unless there was something where they just didn't have staff, but you're talking about
Just the name of it, I haven't heard much about it.
I was gonna ask the same question.
Would any of the things that we're not taking advantage of be beneficial? $1,250 is beneficial, doesn't seem like a lot of extra money.
right.
Not really. What all is included.
Well, there's a little, that's what pops up, so that'll
Yeah.
say services for pregnant and parenting teens, leadership and team building activities, student focused trainings on leadership, empathy, character building, relationships, development of student ambassadors to help support your district's initiatives and team building. I mean, it's a good point. It doesn't say exactly how many times they meet, but if it does a lot of things like that, it's not. I mean, want to add that in and see if,
No, I mean, I guess I didn't know if it's something like if you ask other communities or other school districts if they, who uses it and see if they find a benefit.
But it's not
And is
new,
it-
so there should be some.
Is it
data on
something, is it something that, like, if we approve this now and you did some research and you guys found that, hey, this might actually be worth
right.
adding, can we add it at any point?
I talked to Jamie Nutter just tonight on a couple of things, to clarify a couple of things. I said, if some of these, most of these things, if we want to add them, or add them after school year starts, we can add. And for example, one of them we added, because of the situation with business ed, Whitney Schneider, we added one to give her a little bit of support, added into a program with that, and that is still there. That's at 2,500 for educator development and support. Plus, not just her, we had a couple of new teachers. We had some teachers new to the district, but she was going from a business career into education, so that made sense. So yeah, I can check into that and see
And you
the
feel
uses of that.
right next to it, is the safe and healthy school, just looking at the slide. It talks about mental health awareness, and that's been a big topic that I'm sort of touching on. So that's $1,000 more.
At least quarterly, I think it was, so. But I suppose if we don't sign up for them now, it's kind of dependent upon whether or not they have staffing to allow additional schools into the program.
Right, but it would, depending on what the program is, some isn't, it's more group stuff, so they can add more in, and then you get the emails and, some Zoom meetings and a lot of, material, and some days you can go to events where they're free to hear certain speakers, and so, I think we left it with just the one addition, and I can get some more information and bring it back to the next meeting if you want to add anything on.
Because we could just, you could bring it back to the meeting, next meeting, or any meeting, and we could just approve another addition, to it, right? You can approve this one as is, and then,
For the most part, I mean, some of these things maybe, we just wouldn't have the staff. A lot of things they would. And Jamie Nutt is really good at, trying to serve the district, so that's.
If both are an option,
I mean,
Oh,
if
they're worthy of
if the
our
research, it seems like it's beneficial, like
improvement.
the amounts, much to.
I think it might, make sense to look into that crucial conversation, civil rights compliance as well. I know it's a lot more, but might be something. Valuable to us.
I wonder what kind of duplicity there'd be with Ms. Rodriguez and her
Right, they would need
training,
to look
how,
into it.
yeah.
Yeah. I think with all of them, what we're asking is they look into it. If it could, if it's something that would be valuable, if it's not, because I know we're doing, what is the other program that we're doing with the kids?
Strengths.
Sources of strength, so I don't know if these would be same as that. Maybe Ms. Hustling would
I
be,
think the crucial
Better to
crucial conversations, I
it's not really.
think it's for staff.
Yes, it's for staff. I would agree that's what it sounds like, but it's not very descriptive of what the content would be. But
Okay, so I'm gonna check out teen relationships, safe and healthy schools, crucial conversations, civil rights, compliance.
Please.
But what about, but then to approve though, as it sits with,
With a $1,500 add-in for Title
yes,
I'll make a motion to approve the current. Yes.
I'll second that.
and we have a motion by Shimmick and a second by Glanville to approve the CISA contract with the $15 add-in for Title I. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Additional fundraiser request.
well, this is, Josh had talked, I haven't really talked to Mr. Polmacher about this, but he is wanting to get permission to raise funds for his Washington DC trip, middle school trip. And he's got the form and fill it in there, so it would be sometime in June. And it's a food stand at the old school, two of them.
And when's their trip? Fall?
Next summer.
They also sell,
Summer
Summer.
23.
Summer trip?
they also want to sell a little Caesar's pizza.
Have they done this? Have they done fundraising in the past for previous middle school students for this program, for this?
I think this is only his second trip. We haven't done this trip for a long time. It's fairly new.
Well, it's offered, I think, every year, is it not?
It has not, it was not offered for my kids.
Last year was a different.
Right, well, and I think
So,
COVID years have been different in general, but.
But before that, it was not. We didn't have it.
I thought Lydia
I
did.
thought it was like every,
Well, Lydia maybe Lydia was the first class that did it. No one did it. They didn't.
Sure,
The ones before that, so that it must have started that
yeah,
year. Maybe when the circle locker game. Josh could probably answer.
right. Well, just because they usually come and they present, correct? The company comes, presents to the parents, there's a parent meeting, I believe.
Yeah.
Right, and then they like go through what it'll cost you, and you can set up a payment plan, all that good stuff, if you wanna sponsor your children, and they need someone to go with them, so it's very pricey, so.
So what would this be distributed amongst all the kids that go this fundraiser? Because I don't think there's been a fundraiser for it.
Right, no, that's,
Right.
yeah, that's what I'm asking, has this been done before? Because we don't get many students who do go
Yeah. I think
because of the fund.
You can distribute it, but I also think that you'd have to work the fundraiser to be able to get in your account.
I'm signed up to go to it, so I was at the meeting.
Okay.
For this,
So
to
tell us.
bring it, and it is that where you have to work. Like, if you don't, like, cause they've done part of the concession stands for
Okay.
sporting events too, so like each group can
Mhm.
take those and somehow they distribute, Linda and Barb, they distribute the money to
Whoever
whoever's
works.
running it and
Okay.
whatever, so, and then the money for, depending on how much you work, that money is put up to the people that do the work, and you work all of everything and you all work, then you
Yeah.
get more money than somebody.
And if you don't work, you
maybe
can
work
pay your whole
once.
thing.
Yeah, right,
Okay.
exactly.
That's kind of like.
Okay.
I make the motion to approve both fundraisers. I think it's a great idea.
We have a motion by Shimmick and a second by Camp to approve the fundraisers for the middle school trip to Washington DC. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Addition of clubs, organizations.
Mike,
Yes.
here to
So
present.
I'll talk about that, or just one, I don't know, is it just mine tonight
Yeah.
that you're talking about? Okay. So I am proposing to start a running club for the middle schoolers, in the spring of 23, so a year from now. I find a lot of benefits from this. I was a runner throughout high school, I ran cross country and track, and now I'm not trying to start those sports right now, I'm just trying to get, techniques and just a bunch of the middle schoolers something to do in the springtime, because we don't like they play summer and or softball and baseball in the spring or in the summer, sorry. And so a lot of the time, all the middle schoolers are still trying to be active, so they are just in the weight room working out and whatnot. So I think it would be a benefit for them to just have a extracurricular activity to do during the spring. So again, this would just be middle school, so I'm not trying to take away from baseball and softball in the high school. There would be, so attached, I think it's attached, is it attached?
Yes.
Okay, so attached, I just kind of made up like a mission statement, a description, a location, time, frequency, and cost, so I'll just kind of briefly talk about those. There would be no cost for the kids, it's just come with your shoes and you can run around. The school there, at this time, there'd be no cost. I'm not sure how the whole insurance stuff goes, but we probably, I don't know if we need to have some insurance in case someone would get hurt or something. I don't know how that goes, so.
If it's school sponsored, if the board approves it,
Oh, okay.
you're saying you're gonna donate your time.
Yes, I'm not asking for any money. It would just be to get the kids to techniques on how to sprint, long distance. Again, just something for them to do in the spring. So I'm not asking for any time. I just truly believe in running and it's a healthy lifestyle. And when kids, go to college and if they decide to play a sport or don't decide, it's a good technique for them to stay healthy and active. And it's a lifelong sport, just running, or lifelong hobby you can do. So like just a quick like vision statement, it would just be, running was very nice for me in high school because granted I played other sports, but a lot of the other kids didn't. So you don't technically have to be, a huge athlete to join a club and be a runner. So it's just reaching out to those kids that, aren't comfortable with maybe joining a sport. They would just, join a club and go for a run. You can be with their friends after school, be a safe environment. I would talk about the techniques of sprinting as well, which would help on lots of other sports, basketball, softball, running the bases, football. So I just talk about like how to sprint, because I'm not exactly sure if, other sports, can touch on all of that stuff because they have so much other things to do. And so like the description, again, it would just, build endurance. That talk about injury prevention, stretching, cooling down, staying hydrated, just healthy habits. The location, we would just meet here. I would mark out some like sprinting locations that they could sprint around the school, and then for longer distance, we might, go off of the school grounds, run around town, just to not do, loops around the school. time frequency, it would just be, maybe we'd meet twice a week and whoever, again, it's not like a sport, so it's just whoever can come, can come. And it would probably be for about, an hour almost, twice a night or twice a week. And then again, the cost, nothing. And then if, in the later, if this becomes a huge thing, if we would want to get, t-shirts or, something like that, maybe we put on a couple 5Ks so the kids can get some, they can compete, because that maybe I'd get more kids out if, we competed or something like that. So again, it's not a sport, it's just active activity and it's a club, and yeah, I would not ask for any money. So that was just my my little speech. So do I have any questions?
You had said that it would just be for middle school. Is that something that could be,
For high school as well?
well, just because, if you have an 8th grader next spring and
Yeah.
they move to
Mm-hmm.
high school and they don't play softball or baseball,
Yeah,
would we tell them, no, they can't do
yeah,
this?
and I guess I wouldn't want to, but I just, I don't know if,
Were you concerned about competing with high school sports?
yes, I was. Because I didn't
I have
want to
to
take
add-
away from, because we don't have a lot of students, so I wouldn't want someone to be like, well, I'm not gonna go out for softball or baseball because I'll do this, you know what I mean, running club, because it's not technically a sport. So I just didn't want to, I didn't want to compete with the softball and baseball. So,
You were talking about running it in the summer too, if there's enough interest, so
yeah,
potentially a kid could play their sport in the spring
yeah.
and still be
And
able to take advantage of it.
So technically, it wouldn't meet every day, so if someone even went out for softball or something, and wanted to also do this, I could give them some, workouts and stuff that they, you know what I mean, so
But if they're not gonna go out for
softball, and
softball or
think-
baseball anyway,
Yeah.
could they
I
do
think
this
that
if
you
they
can
chose?
open it to whoever you want if you're comfortable with it. It's
yeah,
a student choice. It
Right.
shouldn't be a,
It'd be tough
It's
with
not a
different
coach
skill levels though,
choice.
because you're just one person where
true,
faster
True.
kids, slower kids, older, younger, you have to monitor
That's true.
all of it, so you kind of can't get too big
Too
too
much,
fast
yeah.
without
that's
a
true.
little help.
Maybe you do the middle school this year and then
Yeah, so maybe
Reevaluate
if I get
if
enough,
you have some
yeah.
that wanna do it as freshmen.
Yeah, so I guess that, that's a good answer to that. So start with middle school and then kind of see how it goes, type of thing.
I think it's a great opportunity.
I do too.
Are there any
Maybe for
concerns
automatic.
with kids being off school grounds,
Yeah, that's.
like running
Right.
through town?
You
How,
see it in every other town.
Yeah.
Right,
Like,
I did it on the track team, I was on the cross country team, so we did
Yeah.
that, but that's something to bring up.
Definitely something we'll have to look into as far as
Yeah.
insurance wise.
like liability concerns, yeah.
But I agree, I think it's obviously, as you all know, we don't have a sport in middle school for in the spring, right?
Mhm.
I think
So
years ago you talked about getting track.
we did because, well, just as Ms. Schwartzoff mentioned, just technique alone,
Mhm.
I take, well, I'll just use me for example, right? I was not the fastest kid, right? I think they timed me with sundown, when I ran, but I played football at Oshkosh my freshman year in college, and we had 2-day practices the first 2 weeks. And for the hour, every morning for an hour, all we did is work on form running and I'm like, I had no clue, right? So I was, God, if we had kids, that learned how to run, can you imagine that one? How much, especially in middle school, and they get that technique down, and then when they play the sports in high school, how much that would help? Just get a little more speed.
Yeah.
So, I look at like a Bryce Boland who is lightning fast. Just think if he had someone train him how to run, how much faster he could be, It's really scary, but not scary, but
Yeah.
pretty exciting. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, so obviously, we make sure that, and if we couldn't run around school grounds, people run around the track all the time, so we could just run in circles around the school too, so I could definitely make anything work, I just, would love to, get the opportunity to help the kids get something to do in the spring. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other
Maybe-
questions? Sorry.
Do we need,
I was just saying, maybe if it's, like you said, we will insurance thing, maybe we walk up as a group together to the park. Talk to the village about using the park, and then if we need some distance, we're staying on that area where we're waiting traffic, things like that. And I'm sure there's things we can work out to make that work.
other schools have to know, because
Oh.
like I
I was
said,
gonna say,
I'm
there's
in other
cross
towns all
country.
the time, and I
Yeah.
see them
You
running
see
around.
cross country all the
Oh,
time. You run all
Definitely.
over.
They run everywhere.
Yeah,
And
And there's no adult with them usually.
No.
Yeah.
They're
I
all
just,
usually
I just don't wanna
Yeah.
assume and have a kid.
right, that's why, yeah, that's why I wanted to bring it up,
Definitely
seeing
look
that
into
all of
it.
a sudden,
I mean, I could run with them if you want, but they're probably way behind me, so
yeah.
I'll walk behind.
Yeah,
have a bike,
yeah.
motorized, but.
In my middle school, the coach would drive the car next to us.
Yeah.
I'd be like, here we go, I'm like, oh.
I think ours had a bicycle.
Yeah, better
Get
than
you
ours,
megaphone.
but Yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, so you need to.
Yeah, you wanna approve it.
I move
So
to
it's for-
approve the middle school running club.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion by Yeager and a second by Schmidt to approve the addition of the middle school running club. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Next meeting, there'll be another request for another club. Shane Keeler wants to do some things to the library, and it'd be a library club, and then he wants to establish the club, and there's a fundraiser request at some point, but there's gonna be another situation where he's not asking for more money. It's kind of extension. He gets a stipend already for the library to be the library media specialist, so it's really good to see these staff members trying to do more things for kids and volunteer their time. And, seeing a need, seeing a little niche, and then requests. We'll be in, I would assume on the 8th with a little similar thing, with kind of, this is short, but kind of trying to cover the bases of what do we do with that library.
Well, there is already a library club, correct?
Not a club anymore, but he said, when Loris Argall had it, would be, do some of the things that she covers, but I don't think there's a club right now. That's why he's asking to start it back up.
I'd be interested to hear what a library club does. All right. Moving on to Wisconsin nutrition purchasing request.
So we've been in this for several years. It's grouped with different schools, and we get our bids this way for like bread and milk and those things. It's $300 for annual dues, but then we get some of that back sometimes to the co-op.
Yes, the membership dues are $300 annually, and we get a rebate back at the end of the year, and that is always at least $300 at the end of the year.
It's a way to
This
get,
just gives us more bargaining power.
right, and in some cases, we're so small, we not even get a bid for some things because we're too small, so that cooperative purchasing, so it's a good deal.
I second it.
We have a motion by Mitchell and a second by Baumkamp to approve the Wisconsin nutrition purchasing request. All of those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to consideration of district contribution of funding to the Veterans Wall.
Well, Josh handled most of this, but he's been working on this, the school's been working on this for a while, and it's a little bit short on funding, if my understanding, to get started, if we want to get started on it.
Yeah, Grant Things started this project as an SPP project. He got us the idea of the Veterans Wall and did the leg work behind it. And we're this close right now. So right now, I think we're sitting at, help me out, Linda Lou, probably around 15,000. You know, off the top of your head, sorry.
I was thinking it was around 10, but I will look that up.
I think it's around 15 actually, and we need about 20 to get it done. So we still want to fundraise to it later. However, when we first brought it up and first got the price to do everything was 18, then COVID hit, and now it's up to 21. So, if we get another couple thousand a year, it seems like we're always a couple grand short all the time, right? So, if we can get help with that, like I say, we'll still fundraise to finish it up. I know the Booster Club wants to do one and help toward the Veterans Wall. Miss Bowen has just been outstanding. They did their raffle. And put a They're auxiliary to a Lone Rock, and they did awesome and got a ton of money for us. So we're right there. So, if the district could help, I understand, obviously, if the budget doesn't work out, but if you could, great. And again, we'll still take the donations, still put it toward it, right? But if the wall's covered, then obviously we'll just put it in that honor, so.
So how, is there an outside company that made a bid that they're gonna come in and do it according to our design?
Right.
How
Have
long?
you guys seen the design before? I think you have, right?
Not the new members, so.
So,
Is it something that if it's scheduled and it would take them 3 weeks to do it and?
actually, yeah, I want to schedule it actually and then have it, my goal is if we can get funding, then I would schedule it and we'd have it displayed for Veterans Day here. So right after our veterans program, have it covered up on the wall.
Can you explain to everybody that wouldn't know like where exactly it's gonna be kind of?
Sure. If you look at the wall right now where the regional plaques are right now. So it's the one between the band and the cardio room. That wall from there to there will all be covered in as our veterans wall. So, we take those plaques down, move them to a different location and put it there. Our original idea was to have it between the kitchen and the elementary building where it starts there. However, our 4K kids eat right there and they line up and as much as you ask them and keep your hands off the wall. And if we had something there like pictures of, military, maybe so we had to change our thought there on that one, but. So, yeah, but, actually, I could run and get you a picture of my office if you want to look at it, quick.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what it looks like.
Yeah, I'll be right back. On the
I
wall.
wonder about the placement though. Like, that's not a very prominent placement, like, this is a fairly important thing and, a decent amount of money to be a spot where it'd almost be a destination, you have to go look for it versus it being right there.
If you go to the bathroom, I'm just trying to think, and I didn't realize you changed it either. Did we do that? I don't think we did that. But it makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I get the reason why,
Yeah.
but I also.
Actually, no,
Perfect
our
world
first
for me.
spot, and then I'll talk the next B&G meeting, we're going to, this is our thought now, because I really don't want.
Do you think it'll be seen? I think that's what Phil's asking. Will it be seen as much there by everybody when they come into the building?
Oh, yeah.
I don't feel like many people walk down that hallway though, other than students. I don't walk down that.
When you go to
aisle.
the bathroom at
Yeah,
Payne's,
bathroom
I
right
think
there, right across
it's
the.
right across
Can't
from the
miss it.
bathroom. What if you don't have to go to the bathroom?
Yeah,
Wait, if you're walking out, you see it over there.
But if you only go into the first door, you would see that.
Right.
I know it's not.
Most parents don't even, when I've set up this table, parents and people coming into our building go that way. They don't
So-
go.
Yeah, I think when we come in and pay for the ball game, you can see that.
Yeah, you're gonna see it there.
Oh,
Right.
I mean, that's right, like, that sticks
Yeah,
out for
I
sure.
mean, it covers up the wall, and then there's some additions that we did to it, some upgrades. So, it's good, so thank you to Sir, but the newest one, is gonna have, part of our school song. So United Are We, is in our school song, so that's gonna be here as well. And then we have all the branches of the military here, all those circles, that's obviously that's the 3D that comes out, and then we have the names of all our members. So last year, and I apologize, it's one of the Tucker twins, I don't know which one is it, Miller Ireland that did it. But they collected a whole ton of names. So right now, if you've ever been to our veterans program, we have our slideshow, all right? So now we're pushing 800 names now that they've come up with, that we're gonna add to this thing. So it's gonna have their name, what branch they served in, and it's gonna have asterisks, so if they were KIA, for example, if they had a bronze star, if they had a purple heart, we'll put that on there as well. And then we'd like to, and this is the tough part, put the year they graduated, all right? So that first couple years, there might be more blanks than we'd like, but that we'll fill in as we go. And this is really, we're working with Teresa A, Mike A's sister. She works for Strauss and Company, it's called, I think. But as far as the upgrades to this, like even if they take all the names out, because you want to keep it in alphabetical order and redo it, it's very reasonable. So what we do is we just send it out once a year. So probably, a couple months before Veterans Day, say, hey, We're updating the veterans wall again, any names that need to be upgraded, some need to be added. All right, so we're looking at an issue though, for example, if someone lives here now but didn't graduate from here, do we want to add them in or not, right? Bradley Beaumont, for example, you know, served in the Marines, he's been a community member here forever, I'd like to add him, so we don't know. You know, do we say, you know, I would grad, and then put the year or not, or, you know, community member, maybe, I don't know yet, but we want to add them, we just don't know how to do that yet, as far as the label underneath.
So are they individual plaques that are engraved? Each one is its own separate thing, or is that painted on, or what?
The names,
Yeah,
they're vinyl on there, and then just, you know, you just take it down and add it up.
Yep. Yep.
So, and then we're gonna have, there's gonna be pictures here of our soldiers here. Just, you know, just different random pictures of some of our military in some capacity. And then I'll have a flag in this spot here that was donated by Joe Hofer, who served as a special forces for a long time. He donated a flag in his daughter's honor, and we honored him at a Veterans Day several years ago, and he gave us the flag that flew over, I want to say Baghdad, when he was there. We donated it with a inscription of what he was doing at the time, so we'll put that on there too. So, I don't know, military, obviously, and the veterans have always been very important to me. My grandpa was in World War II, and I talked to him when I was in middle school, because we didn't have phones then, obviously, so I always went to my grandfather's house before I got a ride home, you know? And I talked to that guy for hours, all the time, about, you know, what it was like being in World War II. It was awesome. I think that's as far as I see.
so basically, so I understand this, it would be, if we front this money, as you guys raise it in donations, it would just be refunded back.
Right, our goal is to, you know, I think right now they're looking at, with our pictures, we added 21,000. And did you get an update, Linda Lou, or no?
I can't get in.
Unbelievable.
Guess we'll have to go in.
But I think I could probably text Miss Bowen quick. I want to say it's 15 or 16,000. I don't quote me on that, but so we're about 5,000 to 6,000 short right now. And she's actually, Miss Bowen, like I said, has just been phenomenal with this, helping with us. And she's applying for a grant right now for $5,000. Hopefully we can get that too, and then we'll be right there too. But that's where we're at right now.
Let me kind of, you explain how it would, if we did this, how it would really go, like we would, you know, we would authorize it, they would start working. We get billed, you wouldn't pay for it in the beginning, you pay for it when it's completed. So then there'd be time for them to fundraise between now and then. I mean, they have to be scheduled in, so you don't know if you can get them August or. would it be-
Right, I'd like to lock them in as soon as we can so they can book us, because I'm sure there's a lot of, you know, so we can lock it in that week before Veterans Day. So we can cover it, have it ready, and then as soon as the Veterans Day program, have the gentlemen and ladies come down and see their name there.
It is harder to get donations though, after it's completed and up, and you're still,
Right.
you know, 4,000 short, and it's there, so now that, I've been through that once at a different school with a different kind of thing, but. you know,
Does Miss Bone, the cupcakes go to that, correct?
Cupcake girls, yeah, they've been
She'll keep doing that.
amazing how much money they make on that.
So I can't see that going away, that it always continue to make. I make a motion to approve it. I think it's a great thing and looks great.
Motion by Schmidt, second by Drury, to approve, the district distributing funds and benefit form with the understanding that, fundraising will continue and that will be paid back. No other discussion, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Just to clarify before, the final one, you know, what it looks like, I'll bring that back to you, so you guys can see what the final one will look like.
The motion idea is to front the money and then they get paid back over time.
That's our goal.
Okay, personnel items, teacher retirement.
Good test. letter to the board.
Phenomenal teacher who will be deeply missed, but wish her congratulations on all the service to us.
Thank you to Julie Tess for all of her years here. Everybody's had great experiences with her. Yes, she'll be great. We need to do,
If you accept it. I think you do.
If we don't, does she have to come back?
No.
yeah.
No, but I think you just do it as a kind of formality.
I'll make a motion to accept Julie Tess's retirement from the school district with, obviously, thank you so much for everything you've done for our students and our school. I'll second it.
We have a motion by Schmidt, a second by Bumcan, to accept Tess's retirement with much gratitude. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion passes. Resolution authorizing contract renewals and issuance of intents to employ.
So teachers are under a state statute 118, 118 something, but anyway, there's certain things you have to do with contract renewals. And so there's an authorization for contract renewals and issuances of intent to employ, and then there's accept, reject letters. They'll get a letter. And we plan on, besides Julie, everyone would get that letter. All existing teachers would get that letter. Then later on in the agenda, we're approving other things for other staff. But this first one is approving the resolution and then approving the accept, reject letter. And those would go to all existing teachers with the exception of Julie Pence. There's timelines in there, so if they didn't return these, one way or the other, June 15th, they have to let us know what they're doing. Otherwise, they wouldn't have a contract.
No, for the resolution.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion by Mitchell, a second by Schmidt. Accept the resolution and accept, reject the letter or approve them. All those in favor, please say aye.
They're saying has to be roll call.
Roll call on these, okay. Thank you. All right, we'll do that with a roll call by the clerk.
Benish,
Yes.
Bumcan, yes. Curry,
Yes.
Bender,
Yes.
Midget,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Jaeger, yes.
Okay, motion passes unanimously, and moving on to salaries and wages.
So this is just to approve what was presented last week. And it's based on their increase.
Right.
sorry, no, we don't have access to the teachers one.
Okay. You'd ask for permission, did it let you ask for permission?
Yeah, I asked for permission twice.
Just run to. Do you have it? I do. I can quick send them.
Just give us your password, Carl. You can change it.
I can see the other two options, I just can't see the teachers one.
That's the one. There, now you should be able to.
There we go, thank you.
And if it's, might show slightly different, we rounded it, we got $2 off, so it wouldn't end up at 42, it ends up decent. Multiple of 10, so 23.40 is increase per cell. It shows where the existing teachers would be, does not include their, like if there's a change in the lane, like these ones that do the PDP, if that it's verified, they'll get another bump on top of this for the ones that move. The ones that are doing extra things, and most people aren't doing that every year, only a couple are real aggressive on it. We're mainly asking to approve the base wage increase on the teaching contracts of 4.7. And each of the group, we have 3 groups, we would vote on each one of the groups. And what will happen with the increase is, and then the June 8th meeting will issue individual contracts with their salary for next year, and that's why we need to finalize those PDP verifications before the June 8th meeting to know where they would fall for next year.
So we'll start with the teachers.
I'll make a motion to approve the teacher increase.
Okay.
On the base wage, 12.7. Maybe I missed to say, is it supposed to be the same number for everybody?
Yeah, that's what I'm recommending because there's different ways you can do it. So one way is we give a 4.7 to each individual salary. Sometimes you do that, but that will make the biggest raises will go to the people, the higher end, and the smaller raises to the beginning teachers. So I've been in districts where you do it different ways, different years, but what we presented, what I think we should do is if we do one raise, that gives the lower paid teachers, gives them a good raise also, and it keeps us competitive for new teachers coming in that don't have experience. But say some other year where there's a decent raise, it won't be every year, but you could choose to do it differently. A lot of times the veteran teachers will tell you that, my raise really wasn't 4.7 because it was, so it went to the other people, but I just think it's getting us real competitive on the front end to attract people. And you can do it however you want. But that's why it's the same, it's because we took the lump sum and divided it out equally among the teachers. Are all these roll call votes because it involves contracts and money? Just the resolution.
Got a motion by
I'll second.
Second by Glanville. There's no more discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Support staff.
Can you get into that?
Yeah.
And that's what was presented. It would end up being 4.7 would be 80 cents. And it'd be 80 cents across the board for those support staff people. And they're listed, the names are listed.
So I move to approve an 8% increase for the support staff.
You have a motion by Yeager, a second by Drury to approve the increase for the support staff. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. On to administrative and non-union support staff.
So we did the incoming district administrator's contract at that amount, so that's a contract that's already been signed, so we left that. And then the head cook, she's going from a cook to the head cook position, so we're showing from, this year she's a cook, but the head cook position is more money, so that's why she has the highest raise. It's a different position.
How come the one is there for 4.79%?
That was to, actually to get that person up to 40,000. Get some, that is a little, yeah, that's slightly higher, and that was a request that they had of me.
That is different though than what was proposed, correct?
Oh, that was in there.
It was.
School nurse, we decided there was going to be a bump in hours,
Right.
but weren't some of those hours going to be non-school nurse duties, like,
Yeah, 8.
but this is all
Well,
calculated in really?
so when you do an increase like that, you do a snapshot of who's currently there, and that's why we're preparing the raise is on the same amount of hours. Then when we do for the contract, the nurse will have 38 hours, 32 hours of nurse, 8 hours of teacher aide at $15.80 an hour.
I'll make a motion to approve administration and non-union support staff.
Okay, we have a motion by Schmidt, a second by Mitchell to approve the administrative and non-union support staff increases. No other discussion, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Addition of snow day language for hourly support staff.
And that's just to get permission to do that, and I need to, then I would have the attorney, our attorney draft language to put in. For some of them would go in their contract, but for some of them would go in the handbook that explains vacations and things.
How does that get decided? Who, just based on whether or not they have a,
Which list, so the first list of support staff are all, they don't have a contract, they have, but they're governed by the handbook, and this last group have individual contracts. And so, and that's the same way when we would put for the two people that asked for the additional week of vacation, that would be in their contract. So if you approve that person's contract with the changes of additional insurance, it would be in there. Or additional vacation would be in there. So this, what we're asking is, this would be snow days, these wouldn't be personal days, meaning they don't carry over, you can't use them for anything else, and it would be full days. It had to be student days. I think, and the question came up, well, what about some people are working year round or have a different, I think we would just keep it at, I could ask the attorney if there's any problems with that. If they thought, like, student days, and we asked Mike Aid, he said that's fine, he does the snow removal, I mean, the one person does all the, they push the snow and he does the sidewalk anyway. So we said that would work. Because we talked about whether we would, if you wanted to come in, we would flip flop days, and you want to get into all that, and I think other people here don't want to get into some of that either. So some years, I don't know if we've had years without snow days, but it'd be the first two. Not, then you're not gonna, we haven't allowed them to make up snow days. The one day we're making up for the ones that want to is the day where we cancel for girls basketball. Make that up on the 27th of June. 27th of May. So it's just the 2 snow days as a perk for support staff, or for hourly support staff. They get paid their normal shift.
Any discussion about this?
Is this common at other schools where they have this option of being able to get paid for the day not worked?
How many other schools, one school where I was, we added 1 snow day. We added 1 more person, so it carried forward. And, but then the trade-off was, but we're not gonna allow you to make up snow days because I had some people that wanted to and some didn't. And then they were coming to me and saying, Mr. Brewer, what do you want me to do? And it's like, well, I don't really know what. We change it, so you guys go to your supervisors, and then we just change it and say, we'll give everybody 1 more leave day, but no more make it up on snow day.
And the rationale is because they're not asking to take that day off. They wanted to come to work, but you're telling the students not to come, so they can't come.
Now, well, normally the deal is hourly, there's a difference. If you're hourly paid, you get paid for the hours you work. And if you work more hours, you get paid more. If you're salaried, some days you work longer days, because you don't get paid anymore. I mean, some days you might work shorter days, maybe it can be, you work out both ways, but salary, you got your salary and gotta get your job done, so there's always that, I guess they, some people feel like when some of the professional or teaching staff get paid on a snow day, they don't, they just feel like they're slighted. So it's just trying to give them, it's kind of goodwill. I don't know. I don't know how many have done something like that. I just know the one school I was at, we had one day, but then it could accumulate what I remembered about that is after a couple of years, it seemed like they forgot that we gave them the day. And we're kind of, in a couple of years, we're kind of right back, how come we don't, we get docked, but these other people still get paid on these snow days. And so that's why I thought I wouldn't do a regular leave day, because it's only for the snow day, it would always be there and they would have to remember that.
And you're suggesting two days, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that just kind of the difference between the salaried people versus the hourly? I mean, that's the benefit of what the job details, that's the job description.
It is.
I guess I'm on the fence still on this one. I don't know if I can. It's a double-edged sword. It is.
We want to keep our
We do. I want to keep our
hourly
hourly workers.
workers that are big impacts in our school too, obviously.
Right.
But I mean,
This isn't a normal person. I mean, this isn't something that I get as an hourly employee. I mean, it's just one of those things. It's just how the workforce goes and what their position details and the description of their requirements.
I wonder if any of our jobs, let's say there was like some sort of disaster or something and you couldn't go, and they're saying you can't come to work today. I wonder if they might consider paying you for that. I would think mine would, actually.
Mine actually has, like in that kind of a scenario. I see this as more of a token of just a good gesture and a thank you kind of thing. I mean, we talked about it and it fits in the budget. It's not like it's breaking it, and it is just kind of a sign of goodwill. Like I don't see this as a bad thing. And I certainly understand what you're saying. I can see both sides. But I'll second it.
We have a motion by Drury and a second by Glanville to approve the addition of 2 snow day language for hourly support staff. Is there any more discussion?
Just one more question.
Sure.
So if there's no snow days,
That's
there's really
what
no
I was
difference.
Correct.
They can't ask for a payout.
No.
Right.
This, like,
It doesn't carry over. It's only if there's snow
It's
day,
not
they
gonna
get
build up
paid.
year to year. I have
We got 10 snow days.
Carrying 20
2
years
years
to get a
in,
little.
and that's.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Do I have to? How many is it? Oh, sorry, it doesn't have. Additional staff for 2022-23 school year, special ed aid and dean of students.
And we like to permission to post for those. We actually need to post for a cook because that, because of the retirement of Sharon and Tasha's moving up, so we need to post for Tasha's position, but that's not an addition. That's replacement. We like to post for the dean of students and also for an additional special ed aide. And especially the dean of students to get that going soon because you guys brought that up last meeting. And I think we just put, in the beginning, we put the license, the salary based on experience. I think we want to have, I've seen them where they have 3 years, you'd have 3 years of teaching experience. So at least they're not brand new. I know for principal license, you have to have 3 years of teaching experience. Would be the, I mean, that's the minimum, one of the minimum requirements.
Is that a requirement or is it preferred? Because I mean, we talked last time about how unique of a position or how unique of a person it might take to be really good at this job. And I wouldn't want to not get someone to apply just because maybe they didn't have 3 years of teaching experience.
If we put that in there, would we be locked into following that?
I would say
Or
preferred.
just say preferred
Yeah,
instead of
because
required.
people apply for jobs.
Oh,
Qualify for all.
some might go way out over their skis for sure.
I will move to approve the additional staff to include the dean of students and special ed aid for 2022-2023.
I'll second the motion.
Right, we have a motion by Yeager and a second by Schmidt to approve the additional staff for the school year of 2022-23 of special ed aid and students. No other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Summer school contract.
So this is a little bit more than what was presented. This is the total of salaries of 36,000. We presented closer to 32, 33 last week for summer school salaries.
Last week?
Yeah.
We, I don't think we presented this last week.
What's in the budget for this year then?
Oh, 33.
So we have some, we had dropped a few of them off because we didn't think they had enough interest. We'd like to have it closer to 10 instead of 5. A few of these have a low number of students, but they're high need students that could benefit from more reading or more math instruction. So in the past few years, we get around 10. So how this works is you count the minutes of each kid that's in summer school. And if you have 48,600, I think is the number. That number is derived from taking like 45 minutes a day times 180 days. If you did that, that's probably that number I'm talking about. So they get one full-time equivalent. So it counts as having one more student. So if you have 480,000, you've got 10 students. Usually the last few years, we've had 10 or 11 students equivalent to summer school. So each student, normally in a student count, we get about 12,500, 12,600 in the formula. So there's another goofy thing with this. You get your 10 students, but they only use 40%. Right? So it's like we have 300 students. That's our student count. We get 10 students in summer school. So 40% of that's 4. So now in the formula, we have 304 students to work with. But those 4 students bring in $12,500, so that's about $50,000. So in this scenario, we'd be in the good. If we only got enough to get 3 students, we'd be just a little bit over 36,000. So we're not making money, but we're covering. And the goal is to either, break even, or if you could make a little more revenue and make your summer school sometimes can make you a little money, but it appears like a little bit more than we budgeted, but we still, for this year, if we would get enough minutes for 10, we would make some money. If we got 8 students, that would be 40% of 8 would be 3 students. We'd be kind of breaking even, so we can get as low as 8 students maybe and break even on this, so we should be okay for the fund it. It'll generate money to fund itself.
I apologize if you mentioned it. What do we normally have? I mean, is 10 pretty average?
We've had 10 or 11 the last couple of years, and like in the projections going forward, like for next year, we looked at, I just kind of go one less than the previous year, just to be a little bit more conservative, but there's different factors. One year we had quite a few that took Southwest Tech credits. I mean, there was an unusual amount, wasn't there? One year we had quite a bit doing that, and that helped a few years ago, but that was a COVID year where we couldn't offer as much in-house, so it kind of saved us. The previous administrator set that up and got those things set up, so
So does that round, like 9 kids,
yes.
40% would be 3.6, so that would,
It goes
would
in
be
there.
budgeted as 4?
Yeah. The other, and then that count stays in, your student count, it stays in that average, it stays in there, so it helps us for a couple points, a 3-year rolling average. But, and that's the rounding is the thing, you could, some years you could add a couple classes and it maybe doesn't have enough minutes to move you a student. Other years, just a few kids can put you to point a tenth more, and then he rounds up, so then you make good off that.
I'll make a motion to approve some school contracts.
We have a motion by Schmidt and a second by Landell to approve the summer school contracts. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. We are to the closed session portion of the meeting, and I don't think that we need to go into closed session.
Right, the person we're going to meet with isn't
Okay,
able to make it, and they would like to meet, they told you next meeting.
Yeah, she called into as you know, what she does, she got called in tonight, so
Okay.
she's been great working with me and email back and forth. She said, if it's possible, can we do it this month?
sounds great. So we'll move on to items for signature, and you should have those. No, Barb will give those to you. I'll talk to you about them. And then setting the date for the next board meeting, which we talked about already, is on June 8th. June 1st, building and grounds. What time was that at? 5:30?
It works for 5:30. Okay.
June 1st, 5:30, B&G.
Yeah, you weren't here, sorry.
No problem, I'll just
We have
add it.
another one too, policy the 23rd at 5:30 of May.
It's a Monday, does that work?
One more time, hit me, sorry.
May 23rd, 5:30, policy.
May 23rd, 5:30. FFA bank was that night, but I can,
What time's that?
6:30 right now.
What about Thursday?
That's the last day of school, right? I mean, I can do Thursday. Or there's a ball game on a Thursday.
Yeah. That's right.
Oh, that's great.
Well, I mean,
How many are
Baseball region.
based on regionals that I think?
Can we do
Just
the week
softball.
before?
Nice stuff.
16th, 17th, 17th. I can't do the 20th.
Can you do the same time as building and grounds? Is there carry over the people on both policy and building and grounds?
That'll be, yeah,
Those two
right,
be-
Josh.
Yep, sorry.
Well, that's, I mean, that isn't,
I mean, I could hit the can with B and G if you want to do it, or vice versa, if we want to do it that way.
I mean, we're really close with the policy committee. I mean,
yeah, I
I
don't
feel
think,
like we're just finalizing. We had all the discussions and you guys are just bringing kind of the compilation.
I think if we could get it in that format, and that's a key, and then just go through it, because we originally weren't trying to rebuild a whole new one, we were just changing some key things, and then we kept finding out two more things that we thought needed to be addressed. But the other thing is, otherwise it's next week, right?
Yeah, the next 2 Wednesdays.
Well, we could still do it the 23rd. It's just that you would have to leave potentially, right, Josh?
And I can, I said, I think to eat first, so I mean, it's not a huge deal if I'm not there right away.
And if you're able to just give your.
Well, but I mean, think about it, we could do it then, and then that's the first draft. So then, so the draft that the committee is forwarding on, and then if there's a correction that we make it at the board meeting,
Right.
and then do the final reading.
That you don't work that day.
Oh, yeah, I could do a little earlier, I guess, yeah.
Oh, you could?
Yeah, I'm
You
off.
mentioned you're not
Oh,
working
you're
that
off that day.
Okay.
Bump it up.
I can.
Because what? Paid day? No. Well, actually, yeah, I'm using my personal time.
Okay.
So we're going 23rd,
Yeah, I can
Policy?
come earlier, what time? I can come as early as I need to.
I'll be cleaning up for graduation, so
You'll be ready
whatever
to
you
leave by
tell me.
noon.
Yeah.
by 5, good then?
Do you want to do earlier than 5? Or can you?
Oh, I can do it, but I don't know if you guys could.
I mean, can you? What do you think? Can you do it? I can be as early as possible, right after school, whatever you guys.
4:30, 4
Or
o'clock?
whatever.
Just let me know.
Oh, yeah, you should.
Do I have it
Okay,
Sunday?
then
I don't come over, so.
Okay, 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
Saying,
Oh, 4
4 o'clock? Oh,
You can go, I was gonna say you can go home and eat, but you don't want to do that. You're eating. Okay,
okay.
any other,
And then I'll get back with you guys on a schedule for, the verification meetings, on the week of the 31st of June. June 3rd, I mean, the last teacher week and the kids are gone. I'll try to line up blocks of time.
how many do you have, did you say?
Probably 9, around 9.
Make a motion to adjourn.
One second. Right.
when is the banquet, Josh?
Okay, 6:30, good?
Banquet for what?
So the next board meeting was at
6:30 is what I have.
Yeah.
What was that?
What's the regular meeting?
May 6 o'clock?
I just haven't seen anything about that, so that's why I was like, what?
Still being recorded, so.
I was gonna say.
Time to eat your graduation.
Right now it's at 7, but we have to go back to 7:30, depending on softball.
Okay.
So it's